Hello and welcome to Connected episode 292. It's made possible this week.
Hello.
Stop. I haven't introduced you yet. Calm down.
I'm so excited.
It's the big 292.
Woo.
It's made possible this week by our sponsors, Storyworth, Pingdom, and Sanebox. This is an even episode, so that means Federico is blessed to go first.
Hello.
That's not. It's breaking the rules already.
I am.
He's feisty today.
You can't stop me. That's why I just finished my coffee before we started.
I was literally about to mention this. When he gets coffee, he gets all excited.
I'm on the bump.
It's so cute when he does this.
Caffeine energizes people. This is how most people use caffeine in their lives, not just to stay alive like you. Like it's just like a constant flow of caffeine through your body.
Caffeine is headache prevention.
But that
For me.
I
Yes.
have served espresso, double espressos to Federico at like 10 p.m.
Yeah,
Like
that's
this is
fine.
a thing I have done.
A lot of people do it. A lot of
I completely understand that, like, if you drink as much espresso as you do, like, you are fine with that. But if I drank coffee at 10 p.m., I would be awake until the next morning, like 100%.
Well, it's not much. I used to be very bad years ago.
You were worrying. Like, I remember being
Yes.
worried about you. There was like a 10 espresso a day,
yeah.
Federico.
That was bad. It was
Yes.
like also 6 or 7 years ago. Now, if I have 4, it's like
What is
the
that, 4
highest.
double espressos?
No. Well, what do you mean by double?
Well, okay, so you have with the coffee machine. I don't know the actual terms,
And there's like
put,
2 things that come out of.
Yes, if
So,
you
it depends.
put all of that into one cup, that's a double espresso.
So, I guess when I
Maybe.
do 4,
Depends.
I do 2 double, and the other 2 I share with Sylvia. So,
Okay, so 2 doubles, 2 singles. This is very
Yeah.
basic. There's like a lot of like depending on how much coffee you put in and all that.
Sure.
But like we're just like there is of course, like as people are pointing out in the chat, like ounces. But like I think we can just say that that's 2 doubles. I will have typically 1 double, and I will either have 2 doubles a day or I will have 1 double and 2 singles. But they're in
Okay.
like with milk and stuff.
oh no milk.
I know you don't have milk, but that's
But
just a
sugar.
different
But I
thing.
do put in sugar though.
You do put in sugar. See, I put
I
no
do-
sugar in my coffee. I just put milk in my coffee.
So anyway, yes. Thank you, Stephen. Hi. How
Stephen,
are you?
when was the last time you had coffee?
It's been years.
How much caffeine do you consume?
I'm pretty sure that Reagan used to be president. right?
It's so interesting to me, like these like different Stevens that I've known.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like I've known like a Stephen who used to drink alcohol.
Yeah,
I've
don't do
known a
that.
Stephen that used to drink coffee all the time.
I don't know. Maybe Jimmy Carter, actually.
Yeah, it's like since the Carter administration.
Yeah,
But like
since
it's just
Kennedy.
interesting. You're a for changed man in many ways.
Yeah,
you
I have
know?
a soda sometimes with some caffeine, and then things get weird because I don't have very
They
much caffeine
do.
anymore. So we're gonna like do the show, or
Now that I
Hello.
think about it, actually, I think it was Lyndon Johnson.
yeah.
LBJ is the LBJ presidency.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Stephen, this is a podcast.
Talk about an unfortunate president, right? Like LBJ, just like no one wants to be the LBJ,
Wow.
right?
What?
Didn't LBJ become president after Kennedy?
Yes, we did. According
Yeah.
to Wikipedia, I did.
Yeah, it's like what an unfortunate presidency, right? Like you are going to be president now because the president just got assassinated.
Good luck.
So like you have that to worry about, and nobody really wants you to be president. Everyone just wants Kennedy back. So go for it.
Yeah.
On The Crown, the Netflix show about the Queen, which is fantastic, the LBJ Kennedy thing is done very well. I enjoyed that part. Anyway, should we actually do? No one's stopping me now. So I
haven't introduced you yet. So we're also joined by Mike Hurley.
This is all happening
Hello.
before your introduction. Hi.
this is all in canon.
It's a
That
long-
was all Federico's introduction.
Hi, Mike.
Let's do follow up.
Hello.
Let's do follow up. The Hackett number has appeared in PCalc. If you're not familiar with PCalc, shame on you. It is a wonderful calculator application for your Macintosh Professional, your iPad Professional, your iPhone 11 Professional Max. And James Thompson, friend of the show, friend of humanity, really,
Especially now.
a father figure to us all, has put the Hackett number into PCalc as a constant. And it is spectacular, but it has raised a lot of questions that I think we need to address.
I have a question before you even start the questions.
Okay.
Can any of us explain a constant?
No. Well,
So,
it's... Yes.
so remember, well, hold on. I got it. So have you ever watched Lost, the TV
The
show?
collective noise from the two of you was amazing.
Have you ever watched Lost, the TV show?
No.
So in that show, Desmond was the constant. So he was the only
Spoilers.
character. He was the only. Well, yes, this is a spoiler for Lost. If you've never seen the show, Desmond Hume, I believe was the name, was the only constant in that he was basically able to travel through time, and his character was the only one that was like connecting these two separate timelines.
You're only making it more confusing because
So,
neither of us have seen the show.
Look, that's that's the only thing I know about constants is that they're like Desmond from Lost.
My understanding of constants, which is I don't have it, but if I was going to assume, it is these unchangeable things.
Okay.
Right?
I guess like
They're
Desmond.
constant. Like Desmond.
Yeah.
So it raises questions, but in PCalc, there's some other weird constants. And before we talk about mine, Mike, I think we should talk about yours.
Oh, what, the weight of the rock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the exact weight of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as he approached the ring for WrestleMania 17 against Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Cool.
I mentioned it last time. Me and James and CGP Grey had a very long conversation over a dinner or a conference where we effectively got him to add this as like the mass of a rock so you could like see about if you dropped the rock into an ocean rather than the rock into a lake or whatever, what difference it would make. So and so as the person who wanted the rock to be a constant, I got to choose which version of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to pick, and that was the one that I picked.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that if you don't have PCalc, you must hate numbers, and if you hate numbers, then you hate the universe. Therefore, if you don't buy PCalc, you must hate the universe. You know? So this is my recommendation for PCalc.
The Hackett number has found its way into PCalc, as we had hoped. It is now a constant. Now, we've had a lot of questions about what if Stephen changes his computer ownership, which is definitely going to happen.
Has already happened.
Really?
Yeah, someone mailed me a MacBook Pro. I got it 2 days ago.
Oh my God. But so now we have to calculate, not we don't have to, but if we wanted to calculate Stephen's Hackett number, it would be a variation of the Hackett number.
Right.
The Hackett number of 20.6, which is now equal to 1, is the definitive Hackett number at that point. So even Stephen will have to judge himself against the Hackett number in the future. Correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the 20.6 is a fixed entity. That's what a constant means, probably.
I guess it would be like if you got like another 20 computers or whatever, you'd have to work out your current computer per person, then divide it by the Hackett number to find out your Hackett number, maybe? I don't know.
Sure.
Who knows how math works? But
No one.
yes.
It's literally unknowable.
Only James. Yes, but everybody should download PCalc to calculate their own Hackett number. So you can count all the computers in your house, divide it by the amount of people, and then you can work out your own Hackett number based on the Hackett number. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another wonderful thing happened out of last episode. Millsap on Twitter created the Scrooge McDuck intro movie, but with me diving into a pile of computers.
Can I just ask you to say that again?
Why?
I just want to hear if you say it the same way.
What did I get wrong?
Just say it like the same. Just say it. Read it.
Millsap on Twitter.
Yeah.
The Scrooge McDuck of computers.
Okay. Because it sounded like you said Mudduck, and I just wondered if you thought that was how that was pronounced.
Scrooge McDuck?
the Maduck.
My duck. My duck.
It's like that's not that. That's just like it's like Marty McFly.
Yeah, he's my duck.
Yeah.
Because in England, places in England, like Maduck is like a nice like like look like a friendly thing you might say to someone.
Like a friendly waterfowl. Anyways, this tweet is spectacular. I've watched it 1,000 times.
Yep. It is exactly what I had described, which is Stephen jumping into a vault full of computers.
The best part is
beautiful.
the splash is a set of Mac Pro wheels and a bunch of iPhone 5Cs.
Yep. It's
so
really,
good.
really good.
Oh my
It's
god,
really
I
good.
just noticed that. That's
Yeah.
so good.
It's very good.
It's spectacular.
We do good work here, boys.
We do good work here each week. Federico, tell us about AirPod Pro professional tips.
Comply, the makers of the popular foam tips for all kinds of earbuds, have now announced and released the Comply foam tips compatible with AirPods Pro. So there's nothing revolutionary about these tips. They're basically foam tips that are designed to work with AirPods Pro. So in theory, they will have a custom attachment that will fit the AirPods Pro, and you can get them in 3 sizes, or you can get the 3-size pack with small, medium, and large. I bought them immediately, is what I'm gonna say. I bought the 3-pack with all the sizes because I'm not sure which one I will actually prefer.
I feel like I made a mistake. I didn't know you could do that. I just bought the medium.
Yeah, well, that's because you don't like reading on
Well, no,
the
I
web.
did read. I read the page because the page says whatever you're using right now,
Yes,
just use those. So that's what I read.
sure, but also, there's always the chance that we foam that may be different than
However,
usual.
I did read that they have a guaranteed fit program. So if they don't fit me, they'll send me more. So,
Okay.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So these are
so I
coming,
read lots
believe,
of things except the one important thing.
Yeah. So these are coming by the end of the month. And for the record, I'm still using the foam method that I described in December. Yeah. I still have my sort of hybrid silicon and memory foam tips that I use with the AirPods Pro. I still like having this sort of hybrid solution, but I'm really looking forward to the Comply tips. Now, foam tips, of course, the big downside is that you gotta change them every few months because you can try to rub alcohol on them to clean them, but eventually it just they turn kind of gross because they're not as washable as silicone tips. So, that's one of the downsides of foam tips.
Yeah.
Some people also don't like the way that it feels inside their ears when they have foam tips. So these are not a solution for everybody. But if you're the kind of person who finds foam tips much more comfortable than silicone tips, or if you're having trouble fitting the silicone tips inside your ears because maybe they keep falling out of your ears, this is, Comply is a well-known brand. And I know that other foam tips exist on Amazon and eBay, but those are like brands that I've never heard of before, whereas I can vouch for Comply because I'm actually opening my drawer now. I have like 3 boxes of Comply tips for my other Sony
It's a lot of Comply
earbuds. So yeah, I'm like a
Comply professional.
I'm not like a subscriber, but I'm a recurring customer of Comply. So this is not a sponsor thing. It's just I really like foam tips. I'm a foam fanboy.
Influencer.
I'm a foam influencer. Yes. I just really like foam, man. It's
What do
a
you
good
want from me?
it's a good material. It's
Yeah.
it's yeah. Mhm.
So as I mentioned, I have purchased this. I made the cardinal mistake, though. I think Federico, you made this mistake. So when Comply announced this, they were like, "Hey, sign up for our email newsletter, and you'll
Bad
find out when these
mistake.
launch." And there were 2 problems with this. One, they launched them before, like the day before,
the day
without
before.
emailing anyone. So it was pointless. But also, in 24 hours, I received 5 marketing emails from them. There's just so many. Like, who is doing? You know what? I see this stuff sometimes. And it's how I realize, when you see people that have like 26,000 unread emails.
Yeah, like John.
It's because they subscribe to they
complain.
subscribe to email newsletters like this, right? That email them like 10 times a week, like 20 times a week, but they just don't do anything about it. They just let it happen, right? So it's just whatever. They don't care. Like, because I can't work out, like, anyone that tries to stay in control of their email inbox would allow for a company to email them 5 times a day. And it felt like there was no end to it. It wasn't like a welcome email thing. It was just like continued marketing emails about other stuff.
It's like suddenly now your life is all about foam. And let us tell
That
you
is how
about
you
foam.
become a foamfluencer, is signing up for our comprehensive email newsletter system.
Every minute, every day, you're gonna be thinking about one thing, and that thing is foam.
If Federico's the foamfluencer, maybe he's the one sending the emails.
Oh, what if it's like my side gig, sending
Just
emails
foam?
about foam?
Yeah.
You know, when I'm not writing shortcuts, I'm emailing people about foam they can put in their ear canals. That's what I do.
Big foam boy.
Sure.
I don't like this at all.
All right, let's take a break.
Thank you. No, it's just kind of gross talking about people's ears for so long. Jeez. Let's take a break already.
Thank you.
It's grossing me out. Ugh.
This episode,
I mean, imagine the person sending all those emails. They're going to be thinking about ears and foam all day long.
All the time. Just like all foam.
do you think they were in college when Apple did the EarPods video? And Johnny Ive's like, we studied 5 billion sets of ear. You know, remember that video? It's like, it's really hard. And they
Is that
thought,
your English accent?
I can do better. And then they became the foamfluencer.
And also, like, let's just face it. I mean, ears are weird, right? Like, as a body part, like, ears
Yes.
are weird. Because also, like, the older you get and your ears keep growing,
Yeah,
like
ears and
all the-
noses.
yeah. I don't know. Ears are just gross and weird.
Kind of
And
floppy.
and they're floppy and they never stop growing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You can pierce them if you want to.
Sure.
I used to have earrings.
You can pierce anything. You try hard enough.
You can cut them, I guess, if you really dislike them. Please don't do that. It's dangerous. Or you can study them, like Comply does.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, please take a break.
I have so much editing to do.
I just wanted to say, by the way, that dog ears, TJ, are absolutely fine. Dog ears are perfect. Actually, I wish that...
There are 7 dog ears for every human ear.
What? I wish that people had dog ears. Like, we would be so much better with dog ears instead of human ears. I get that. Those are so much better.
No,
Honestly.
I don't think so.
I think so. I do believe so.
No, I'm going to Google human with dog ears and see how that pans out.
Please do that. Steven, can you please take a break already?
Oh, let me tell you, Federico, that does not pan out very well in Google image search.
Oh,
let me
no.
tell you that, yeah.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by SaneBox. Whittling your inbox down to 0 it's basically impossible, right? We all get a ton of email.
About
we sign up to
foam.
newsletters about foam, about dogs. And sometimes the really important stuff, the emails that really matter, they get lost in the shuffle. That's where SaneBox comes in. A message arrives and SaneBox will triage it for you, sorting the important emails separate from the noise. It will put what matters in your inbox with all the distracting stuff into your Sane Later folder, which lets you deal with what's important right now and review everything else when it suits you. SaneBox also has nifty features like the Sane Black Hole, where you can drag messages from annoying senders or brands to this folder and you never hear from them again. It's fantastic. There's also Sane Reminders, which I use a lot, to notify you if someone hasn't replied to your email by a certain date. So if I email John about a story and I want to hear back by Thursday, I can set that up and Sane Reminders will tell me, hey, it's Thursday, John hasn't replied to you. Then I can go find John. Best of all, you can use SaneBox with any email client or phone. It works wherever you check your email. You're not locked into some sort of special app. It all just works. I've been using SaneBox for years, and honestly, I can't imagine my email without it. It is so great to have things that I need to stay in my inbox and everything else just waiting for me at the end of the day in Sane Later so I can go deal with them when I want to. See how SaneBox can work its magic to remove distractions from your inbox by getting a free 2-week trial right now. Visit sanebox.com/connected right now to start your free trial, and you'll also receive a $25 credit. That's SaneBox, SANEBOX.com/connected. Our thanks to SaneBox for their support of this show, keeping our email manageable, and everything else they do for Relay FM.
Real-time follow-up.
Oh, boy.
We have some Hackett graphs.
Okay.
Sent in by Kate. So Kate actually started this work yesterday. She did some historic Hackett number calculations based on some answers in your How Big Is Your Collection video from YouTube Q&A stuff. And so in 2018, you had 47 computers. So your Hackett number was 0.456. So and then in 2019, it's like 63. Wait, I'm confused now. Oh, oh my, it was a 2019 answer as well, where it's 63, so it's 0.612. And then Kate has plotted these on a graph to see how the Hackett number has continued over time to where it is today, including both the Hackett number and the extended Hackett number, which is the, like, remember we said that including all peripherals and stuff? And then Kate has followed up while we were recording today by increasing it again because you've continued to increase your computer usage.
The chat room thinks that we should have another child to bring the number down. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I think it's a fantastic idea, personally. I think you should do it, Steven. You should consider the option. By the way, anything that you put, like when you put anything on a graph, it looks so professional, like it looks so real. Like you could take any information, make a graph out of it, and it will look real. That's my theory, at least.
Yeah.
So, real-time follow-up.
Oh.
Also, from me this time.
Nice.
iOS 13.4.5 is now known as iOS 13.5. So the next major update. It's called 13.5, and 13.5 Beta 3 is out, and it contains the COVID-19 exposure notifications feature.
That's why they've bumped it up to a full number.
They bumped it up to a full number. It's out now. It's installing on my phone at the moment, but there are some screenshots already going around on Twitter. And yeah, there's a toggle under a new section of settings called COVID-19 exposure notifications, where it explains how the random IDs are deleted after 14 days. By the way, this is the joint effort that we previously talked about with Apple and Google collaborating to enable
we ever
this.
Spoke about it.
Really?
Yeah, we planned. We
mentioned it.
I think the amount that we spoke about it was go listen to another show.
Oh yeah,
But
so
yes.
we spoke about it. So yeah,
it came up.
You know, technically we spoke about it. Technically, words come out of our mouths mentioning that topic. So yeah, this is now out in the beta. 13.5 is the new version number, and you can, if you have a developer account, you can install it now. It's likely gonna come out tomorrow.
iOS 13.5 makes it easier to skip Face ID if you're wearing a mask. With this change, Face ID can detect if you're wearing a mask and skip directly to the passcode screen.
Oh.
That is a very interesting and cool feature. I like that. That's clever. That's very clever.
Very nicely done. So, this is very nice, actually.
Is this the first time we've had a 0.5 iOS release? I was trying to think. I think it may be.
Maybe.
Who could
Maybe.
know?
What is very nice is that, I don't know if I mentioned this on Connected before or not, but in this beta cycle, what is now known as 13.5, there was also a fix for shortcuts that basically if you're using MusicBot, my very complex Apple Music Assistant shortcut, you can now share again from the Music app to MusicBot in the share sheet and it will not crash. So I was very happy to see that fix. I think it was in the previous beta. So hopefully the fix is still in today's beta. But I was very happy to see that. Now I can use MusicBot from the Music app again. And now I'm installing this 13.5. We'll see what's new besides the exposure notifications and easier Face ID. And that's my real-time follow-up, Steven. Back to you or back to Michael. I don't know.
I would like to just thank you, Federico, for the command and full stop keyboard shortcut that you recommended last time, which replaces the escape key on iOS. I've been using that a bunch. It was a thing that I didn't know existed until now.
Yeah, I first discovered this when I think it was 2018, when Things by the Task Manager by Culture Code, they added this extensive keyboard navigation, and they mentioned to me, by the way, if you want to use any if you want to use any escape feature, there's this system-wide keyboard shortcut that is command period, and it works everywhere, not just in Things. And I was like, oh, thanks, I didn't know that. And I just kept that in the back of my mind for so long that it just... I just thought that everybody knew, but I guess not, because like you, I've received many other replies on Twitter saying, thank you for command full stop. So, yeah, you're welcome.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mike, let's talk a little bit about Backstage.
So I'm going to put a link in the show notes to everything, but you can go to relay.fm/backstage, right? And that's where you'll find out a bunch of information about the show, and you can subscribe to become a Relay FM member. If you do subscribe to become a Relay FM member or add Backstage to your existing membership, like you pay for that too, it goes to helping support the day-to-day here at Relay FM. Obviously, we're like every other company on the planet battling different and new challenges right now, so your support is as welcome now as it's ever been, and so we would really appreciate it. But we wanted to provide more content for our Relay FM members, and Backstage is one of these things. And we're going to basically take every month a different part of the podcast creation process and go through it in depth. So on the first episode, we talk about how to come up with a topic. And then on our next episode, we're going to talk about co-hosts and guests and how you would find them. We're taking questions from our audience, from all of you, especially from Backstage listeners themselves, to try and give people the advice that they may want when it comes to starting podcasts of their own. And so if you go to relay.fm/backstage, you can find out more. You can become a Relay FM member and help support us. But if you are a Relay FM member supporting any show, if you want to support this one, you will also get this as part of the Relay FM membership overall. So it's not a separate subscription, but if you do subscribe that way, it actually just goes to helping us run the company as opposed to necessarily going out to hosts of shows and stuff like that.
When you do that episode, you should call it Fantastic Guests and Where to Find Them.
I love that so much. Thank you.
So you're welcome. You have the title already.
Yeah, we
Perfect.
do.
Thank
Very
you.
Clearly.
Yeah, it's really an exciting show. Recording episode 1 was a lot of fun. I'm already looking forward to doing next month's. And yeah, I think it's fun to walk through the process and what it takes. And already we've had questions from people that I wouldn't have necessarily thought about, even though we've sort of lived it, haven't thought about things in this way or that way necessarily on their own. And so it's been fun for the two of us to go through this as well.
Yeah. So please go sign up and go check it out, or just go check out that first episode and see if it's right for you, see if it's something that you want. And I bet you're gonna love it. And you can find everything there in our show notes.
Yeah, I'll make it a B-sides to this episode of Connected, so it's really easy to find.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about the Magic Keyboard. Most people who have reviewed them so far ended up with the bigger of the two, the 12.9. That's the one that y'all have. It's what reviewers got sent. But I use an 11-inch iPad Pro, and I wanted to talk about that experience a little bit. And I know it says like follow forward because the show's not out, but I know this week on Adapt, Federico, you and Ryan are going to talk about the differences between the two, which I'm looking forward to hearing.
Yeah.
Because Ryan is one of the only mad lads who actually bought the whole kit and caboodle, right? He's got all of it.
Oh, he bought everything. It's a wild, it's a wild episode actually. Like he's actually, this is coming out tomorrow on Thursday. So check it out because he has some thoughts, and I think the final answer may surprise you. So yeah. Also, like, make sure to listen. There's a specific part when Ryan describes is what he's using to balance the iPad on his lap. Please go listen to that.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm very concerned.
Yes, you should be.
I might just help myself to that file early. So the 11-inch, it is, I think a fairly different experience in the 12.9 from what I can tell. I will say off the bat, I agree with everything y'all said last week about the build quality, the angles, how we wish there was more flexibility in the viewing angles, the keyboard being good, a backlight being awesome. I agree with all of you, like all of those statements. But I'll say the 11-inch really does feel cramped in a way that I didn't expect. Best I can tell, the main keycap, so all the letters and everything, are the same size between the two keyboards. But the other keys, shift, delete, brackets, that sort of thing, are all smaller. Now, side by side, it's actually very close to the 11-inch Smart Keyboard Folio, the outgoing model. But I think it feels worse here because your fingers and brain are tricked into thinking that it's a laptop because, well, it is a laptop, but the keys are so similar to what's on the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air. It feels weird to have sort of that overlaid the iPad experience. And my guess is the 12.9 feels more spacious because it is, and that it feels more like a laptop keyboard than maybe the 11. It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's worse than the Smart Keyboard Folio, but I think it's more noticeable on the Magic Keyboard. I feel the same way about the trackpad. I like using the trackpad. I had reduced motion turned on my iPad. I don't want to turn it. I had that off. I don't want to turn it back on. So I do miss some of like the crazy animations, but mine's a simplified experience. But the trackpad feels good. It is loud. The click is way louder than I expected, which is something y'all said. But on the 11, it feels pretty small. Like if you're going to scroll vertically, say that you load up a long web page and you want to scroll top to bottom, you're picking up your fingers and moving them again quite a bunch, a lot more than I expected.
Okay.
I think it's partially that we're all spoiled by, the external Magic Trackpad or the trackpad on the MacBook, because those things are just massive.
Like battleships.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like the keyboard, the trackpad on the big MacBook Pro is like the screen of an iPad Mini. It's huge. It's, again, not a deal breaker, but something that it feels a little cramped. And my guess is that feels better on the 12.9.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have those feelings about the trackpad, right? Like in using it for a week, like I don't feel like it's cramped. Like it doesn't bother me. But plus, I don't think I'm doing a lot of big scrolling on the trackpad anyway. I do touch the screen still.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
You still do. I feel like I'm the opposite.
Not a lot, but enough, right? Like I do still do things on the screen. So
I do too. I really find my usage so far, I will use the trackpad, but then once I touch the screen, it's hard to stop, right? So I have to reach up to do something or something that's just easier to do. And then it's like, then my hand doesn't come back to the trackpad for a while. It's like, oh yeah, there's a trackpad down here. I think that will just take time. We're going against 10 years of experience touching iPad screens. Adding a trackpad to that is just going to take time to move. But I do like having the trackpad. It is so great for text editing. That was a big frustration for me always on the iPad, especially in 13. I really don't like the new like text gestures.
Yeah, those text gestures are a disaster.
They really are.
All of the touch-based changes for text selection for iOS 13 have just never stuck for me. But I can see it's easy to see now why they did it. They did it for this, but it just took longer than expected to make those changes. Federico, do you disagree with that? Like at all about that touch, like text selection is so much worse than 13 on iPadOS?
The text selection is so much worse, especially because they got rid of the magnification loop when you're trying to select text and you don't see what you're actually selecting. And I still don't understand why that specific UI element had to go away. Like you could you can still select with one finger and make it, have a new selection system without having to necessarily remove that UI element, which made text selection so much more accessible and easier to use. And also I just think that every day, I try to double tap or like select something and something weird happens. Whether it's like
whatever those shortcuts were that Craig Federighi showed us, I can't ever get them to work. Right? Like they don't work for me. I can't do any of the tap here to get this to like it just none of them works for me.
What I do that I actually do quite frequently is the tap with three fingers on screen to make the copy and paste menu appear. So that I use.
That's the only one.
That one I use, but the other stuff with like swipe to the left and you undo and like I even reviewed this stuff and I mentioned this. Like you can actually cut, copy and paste and undo and redo with gestures. I never remember those. I have a section in my iOS 13 review with demos, like videos, and a list of all these gestures, and I have also forgotten about them completely.
See, that's the bad thing. Like, of the three of us, you have definitely used these things the most because you had to use them for the review, and you don't even remember them. Yeah.
It's one of those things like gestures that are... The argument that, that they make that it's fine if normal people don't discover them because these are for power users, and I understand that. It makes sense on a theoretical level. Where the problem lies is that also power users are going to forget about them because there's no visual affordance to them. Like, it's just something that you need to remember, and I feel like it's a hard ask on people to say, just remember this set of like 6 different gestures that you're never gonna actually see visually on screen. You just gotta memorize them. And I feel like, especially if you're using the keyboard or if you have this visual element, you're just going to go, you know what, I'm just going to use Command V, or I'm just going to use the arrow keys to select text, or I'm just going to tap with 3 fingers on screen and I'm going to use the copy and paste buttons, and that's it. The problem is memorizing them, and the problem is that any combination of multiple fingers in a precise gesture, like, oh, swipe exactly to the left with 2 fingers and you're going to do this, but only if you're in a text field. I think those are so here's where I draw the line. Those gestures are actually more difficult than the multitasking gestures that a lot of people complain about. I think it's actually easier. It is easier to use split view and slide over and drag and drop than the new gestures for cut, copy and paste, undo and redo.
Especially when like they never even double down on it anyway, because I can still get the cut, copy and paste thing to come up if I tap enough times. Right, like the old little...
It's hiding in there.
Yeah. So I just don't really understand what the benefit of that was, but all the text selection stuff is amazing with the keyboard, and I really want Google to implement it so badly for Google Docs.
Oh, because they're not supported in Google in any of the Google apps, I guess. Yeah.
Well, it's on the list right after multiple windows.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Remember when that used to be in our follow-up?
We just stopped it because it wasn't funny anymore. It was just sad.
No. I think they're more likely to implement the trackpad stuff than they are multiple windows.
Well, they don't use standard text windows, so I just worry about that. Them having to re-implement it, basically.
They've done it before. We had Eddie write into us with, I think, what is a perfect tweet after seeing... What did you say, Stephen, on Twitter? You were saying about how the 11 feels cramped and it probably wouldn't on the 12.9?
Yep.
So Eddie tweeted and said, Stephen has second thoughts about the 12.9, orders it, realizes it's too big, goes back to the 11-inch. Mike and TG roast him on an episode for always doing this. I think this is going to happen.
So just to make sure, this has not happened yet, right?
Well, I don't know. Who knows? Who could know?
It is not.
But it will happen. But it is going to happen, right?
I expect so.
No.
At least in the next cycle, you'll do it.
The 12.9 is too big for me because I do use my iPad a fair bit, for media stuff, like on the couch or, reading a bed or something. And the 12.9 is just too big for that sort of thing. The 11 is a nice size.
Just to make sure this has not happened yet.
No, it has not happened.
But why does it feel like it has? Are you lying to us?
No, I'm not.
Is this why I was feeling weird before the show? Is this something that you're not telling us?
Heart, there is not a 12.9-inch iPad in my house.
Okay.
Or on the way to my house.
Sure. Okay. We'll go with that.
Okay.
For now. Mike, what is new on your desk?
Stuff. So you remember on the last episode, I referenced that like maybe a laptop stand could be a good thing to try out, right? Because the iPad is in essence a laptop. So instead of having to take off the Magic Keyboard case and put it into the stand that I was using, and then, you know, keep doing that backwards and forwards every time, to maybe now just use a laptop stand. Well, there's been many developments in the past week. So I've been suggested from listener Thomas, to try the Roost laptop stand, which is a very cool laptop stand because it's like a plastic thing. It's strong, but it's also collapsible, so it's like good for traveling. And the height was pretty good, actually. It gets to it can elevate a screen to 11 inches above a tabletop, which I was pretty happy with that. It was pretty high. There was one problem with this stand, though, and you'll note it if you take a look at the picture that I put in the show notes that I tweeted. Because the angle doesn't go very far back on the iPad Pro and the Magic Keyboard, it doesn't go as far back as a laptop would, I had to elevate the front feet of the Roost stand on another keyboard just to give me the angle that I wanted. And then when I posted this picture, I got somebody sent me, I'm going to find their name too, they sent me a link or a photo of somebody using another stand, and they found out the name of the one for me. I can't find this person's name, but person out there who suggested the Nulexi stand, that this is it, boys. This thing it's very serious. It's like this huge piece, multiple pieces of aluminium on some incredibly stiff hinges, but it is super, super adjustable, and it can get up to 17 inches off of a desktop, which is quite significant. But if you thought the hinges on the Magic Keyboard were tough, this thing is next level. And
wow,
it really I can get. It's very flexible because I can not only have it high, I can also have it close to me. Right? So sometimes in using these types of stands, and I found that with the Roost stand, the higher you make it go, kind of the further the screen gets away from you, just because of the way it was angled. But with this one, because it's got a couple of hinges, it's got a big base plate, and then there's a hinge on a piece of metal, and then there's a plate that goes on top that you put the laptop on that's also on a hinge. So you can really angle it a lot. You get a lot of flexibility over it. And this is what I'm using right now. I'm really happy with this. I'll also just answer because people will ask. The keyboard that I'm using is called the Digma Raise keyboard, and I'm using a Logitech trackball ergonomic mouse, as well as a Magic Trackpad too.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In the last product photo on Amazon for the Nulexi stand, why is the right hand of the man in the photo so much bigger than the left hand and so disproportionately huge compared to his head?
That's what happens when you by adjusting this stand, you significantly increase your muscles in the right hand, and so that's why the muscles of this guy's hand are so significant.
Okay.
Got it. This thing looks like it's built like a tank, honestly.
It 100% feels like it's built like a tank. It really is a very strong thing. But
does it fold? Do you actually close it when you're done working?
I mean, I don't. I just leave it, right? I
Sure.
just leave it set because what I do is this just allows me to pick up the Magic Keyboard. I take it into another room, and I am using my iPad outside of my office more now because I don't need to do the whole thing of take it out of the Clear Look clamp stand, put it into the Bridge keyboard.
Yeah.
I found that frustrating, so I would just come and sit in the office, and do whatever I needed to do. But now all I got to do is just pick it up. Which is so I'm using the Magic Keyboard more this way than if I think if I was using it with the Clear Look stand and taking it out of the stand, putting it in, taking
because
it
it's
out
always on.
because it's always there,
Right.
and it's just easier for me to just pick it up, and I have the whole thing kind of there and with me and in the way that I want it to be.
You should put something on the base of the stand. You should put something there.
Well, I put my phone there or something.
Your phone works. Like a wireless charger, maybe you could put in there.
I could put, but also at some point I want to get a USB-C dock, so that's probably where that will go. It was Kay Crownsell on Instagram who gave me the tip for this thing. I think it's great. This is what I'm all about. This one now. This is, if you say, "Hey Mike, what's your new iPad stand?" It's this one.
So the Nulexi is the new Clear Look stand.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Bye,
this is the
bye.
one I'm going to use every day.
R.I.P. Clear Look.
The clear look stand is great if you're just putting in, like, if you don't have the Magic Keyboard and you want to have your iPad at like eye level and you're using an external keyboard, which is what I recommend, especially for sitting at a desk for long periods of time. It's great for that. But I don't want to have to be dealing with all of that now. I just want to be able to sit the laptop down, basically. So I treat my iPad like a laptop now. That's what my iPad is for most of the time.
Very nice. Very nice. If I had the space, I would actually buy this too. But my desk is very small. You've been here, you know. My desk is very small. There's no room for that kind of stand.
So just to clear up something in the chat room, when I'm talking about removing the iPad, I mean removing the iPad from the stand that I put it into. So like the Clear Look stand, it's like a bit of a hassle to get it in and out because it has to hold it, like clamp it on to the stand. Like obviously removing it from the Magic Keyboard is way easier than removing it from the bridge. But once it's in the stand, I then have to get it out of the stand. And then when I want to put it back in the stand, put it back in the stand. And that's just like, it's just a frustration. This is way easier now for me to just sit it down. And I'm really happy with the pass-through charging. That's great. Because now I get because I use a keyboard that connects via USB-C. So I can now just have that plugged in all the time. Although it's kind of funny, when if I'm using my iPad and using the keyboard, because the keyboard needs power, the power will drain. Like if I leave my iPad idle, I'm using like I'm not using the big charger. I'm using the charger that comes with the iPad Pro, right? So it's a USB-C charger, but it's like 18 watt or something.
Yeah.
If I leave it plugged in, like it doesn't charge very fast. It like basically just stabilizes because there's a power draw constantly, which is the keyboard because it lights up. But that makes me happy. So, choices.
Yeah. Well, if you're charging through the Magic Keyboard anyways, it's rate limited.
Exactly. It's not as powerful.
Yeah, I noticed I was watching some stuff on Netflix, and when I was done, basically the battery was the same. The charge through the keyboard case and the charge of watching Netflix basically canceled each other out. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting. No, this looks good. This stand looks like you could kill somebody with it.
You 100% could. It is... Well, because like it's like weighted that you could put a 16-inch laptop on this.
Yeah.
Right? So like it is basically
which is what your iPad weighs now. Hey-o.
Well, it's like, like the Magic Keyboard is super heavy to balance things. Mm-hmm. This thing is super heavy because it needs to balance everything, right?
Yeah. Is the plate that it sits on, is that metal?
Yes.
So does the keyboard like want to attach to that a little bit? Like, is there any magnetic pull?
No, I've had none of that.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like a...
I hadn't even thought of that, but no, there's no magnetic interference going on.
Okay. I don't think it would hurt anything. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's really adjustable, this. Like, you adjust the angle on the foot, the angle on the plate, and then you can, like, extend it as well. It's really very cool. Like, I'm very happy with this product.
Good.
So I also wanted to mention that I've been adjusting to the Magic Keyboard. We mentioned last week that one of the potential issues that I had with the keyboard was that my fingers were touching the bottom edge of the iPad because of the floating design and the fact that the iPad is just floating on top of the number row of the Magic Keyboard. And for some reason, the way that I type and just move my hands, I was bumping into the bottom edge of the iPad's screen when using the Magic Keyboard. And I've noticed over the past week that is happening way less often than before. So as I hoped, I am adjusting to the Magic Keyboard. I'm changing the way that my hands are placed on the keyboard, I guess. So that aspect has been improving, and I'm very happy about this because, as I mentioned, this happened before with other iPad stands and keyboards. I was getting kind of concerned like the first couple of days using the Magic Keyboard, but now it's fine.
I think all this stuff just takes adjusting to, really.
Yeah.
I noticed that the older I get, I need more time to adjust to new input devices. It's like a weird quirk that I've learned about myself over time.
Welcome to your 40s.
Right, it's just like, oh, why does my knuckle hurt? It's like, oh, because I have like a new trackpad. So like I get like a weird pain in my hand for a couple of days, and then it's fine again.
It's fine. It's fine again. All right, let's take a break, and then we're going to get into the iPhone SE a little bit.
It's all follow-up today, really.
But it's also not all follow-up. It's up to listeners to decide.
It's also topics. It's like a jambalaya of stuff.
A what?
Jambalaya.
This episode is brought to you by Pingdom from SolarWinds. Today's internet users expect a fast web experience. No matter how good your content is or your marketing may be, they're going to leave if your website is loading too slowly. We've all experienced this, right? You get that spinner and you think, I'll come back later. But they might not come back later, which is why you need real user monitoring from Pingdom. You can discover how website performance issues are affecting your visitors' experiences so you can take action before your business is impacted. How your visitors experience your website differs depending on the browser, device, and platform they use. So you want to identify how visitors are experiencing your website so you can make informed optimizations and deliver a great performance to those who matter most. Real user monitoring is an event-based solution, so it's built to scale, meaning you can monitor millions of page views without compromising historical data or breaking the bank in the process. Get live visitor insights today with real user monitoring from Pingdom. Just go to pingdom.com/relayfm right now for a 14-day free trial with no credit card required. When you sign up, use the code CONNECTED at checkout to get an awesome 30% off your first invoice. Our thanks to Pingdom from SolarWinds for the support of the show and Relay FM. So my wife got her iPhone SE on Friday. I wanted her to join us today, but unfortunately that didn't work out with her schedule. But we talked about it, and I have some thoughts of hers to share. I will say that this is the first product red phone that we ever had in the house. It looks really good. The red is really, really nice. And I like that the cover glass is black. This was a change on the SE. It used to be that red phones and white phones, they would get white cover glass above and below the screen. But this is black. I think it looks really good. She opted for a black leather case, so this thing just looks really awesome. You can just see like red sticking out the bottom and around the camera cutout. It looks really cool.
That's nice. I bet it looks good.
It does look good. One thing that stands out a little bit to me is that the vibrate switch, like on like my 11 Pro Max, it has a little orange line to note that it is in vibrate mode, I guess. And on the red phone, it is orange and is really pretty hard to see. So I tried to pinpoint when Apple changed this, because with the iPhone 5C and other phones in the past, they would use a white line on the vibrate switch when it was hard to see the color. So my iPhone 5Cs all use orange except for the pink one, and it used white because the orange and the pink were too close together. You can't really see the line. So I don't know when this changed, but at some point since then, I guess they've just given up on this and using the same orange color for all the phones. And I will say, just some real-time follow-up, the chat room says the iPhone 7, the red one, was red and white, but the iPhone 8 had red and black. So red and black has been used before, apparently. But I don't know what the deal is with this vibrate switch. So that's just a little thing that I noticed. But it led me down this thought quest about the switch on the side of the iPhone. It's been there since the very beginning to change your phone from making noise to not making noise. And you can go into settings and tell does that mean vibrate or does that mean silent with no vibrate. But I just wonder why the phone still has this. The iPhones don't have home buttons or headphone jacks anymore. And this switch is not really found in the Android world. Most Android phones combine volume down with vibrate and completely silent. You just keep turning the volume down and you move through those modes.
Some phones have it, but not the big popular ones.
Yeah, the mainstream phones, Android phones, this has basically disappeared. I just wonder why Apple keeps doing this. A company that likes to get rid of switches and buttons. Why has this lasted so long? Do you guys have any thoughts on why Apple views this?
I think it's a very important physical switch. If you go into a meeting and you don't want to get your phone out and you realize, I need to check if it's on silent, there's no way to do it. You can put your hand in your pocket, you can put your hand in your purse, and you can toggle it, right? Or you can feel that it's toggled, and you don't have to get the phone out, right? Or like if your phone starts making sounds, you have an easy way to stop it making sounds. Like I think that it requires a physical toggle. I think it's very important for that. And I think that's why they wouldn't get rid of it. Because I would imagine that like this is a thing that everyone experiences in any kind of like work setting, at least, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is definitely like the reason. I just wonder if that's the reason like Apple views that as big enough because it's still here. I like the Switch too for all those reasons. It's just I guess Apple really puts an importance on that. They have a lot of meetings.
We still have volume controls, physical volume controls. We still have a sleep wake button, and all of those things are replicated in other ways now. Like you can turn on the phone by lifting it or touching the screen. Mm-hmm. You can't do that with the SE though, right? It doesn't have tap to wake.
It is not.
Which is that would break my brain now trying to get my head around that.
Totally used to that.
But and like the volume, it's all in Control Center, right? But they still have those because I think that those buttons are important, like the because people feel in their pockets or like they don't see and they enact on those actions. I think they're important to have.
I assume y'all's phones are always in silent or vibrate. What's your stance here?
Always silent, no vibrate.
No vibrate.
No vibrate.
Never.
Why not?
Look, I don't want people to bother me.
Are you an Apple? Do you have vibrate on your Apple Watch?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how you're getting notified.
Yeah, I have an Apple Watch that vibrates. Yeah, but like never any sound. Never vibrate on the phone. Only haptics on the watch. No sound on the watch either, of course.
Yeah, sound on the watch is bad.
No sound on the watch. Come on. Don't do that. That's bananas.
And also,
right?
My stance on receiving phone calls in the morning. I have blocked people in my contact list who have tried to call me early in the morning before 10 a.m. It's like, if you call me before 10 a.m., then you don't know me as a person. Like, you don't deserve to be in my contact list. If you call me, like, why would you call me on the phone before 10 a.m.? Like, without telling me beforehand, like 2 days in advance, hey, I'm gonna call you. Like, I'm not picking up. I don't want to have a phone call like at 9:30. You know. Waking up and being concerned that something horrible happened, and it's just my random friend who wants to have a conversation in the morning. You want to have a conversation with me in the morning? What would you even talk about? Breakfast? Like,
disgraceful.
Yeah. So yeah, always on silent, never vibrate. Only optics on the watch. That's the way of life. Mm-hmm. But also, I understand why some people have vibration and sound.
I have vibrate on my phone. My watch is always on Do Not Disturb.
Which is basically opposite of how you used to live.
Yes.
Do not disturb. Huh?
Mm-hmm. No notifications on my watch. I just don't want them.
Well, people change. People change over time. My phone is 99% of the time on vibrate, and I don't. I've tried it being completely silent before, but I find that if I'm out and about, I don't always notice the haptics on the watch, even if it's in like the strong haptics mode, and so I tend to leave vibrate on my phone almost all the time, especially like in the evenings. I take my watch off. I don't wear my watch overnight. And, there's a window of time before I'm in bed where like, yeah, it would be good to know if someone called me and it was important. So I leave the vibrate on. I don't mind it. I do use Do Not Disturb on my phone a bunch during the workday. If we're recording or I'm on a conference call or something, so I can get rid of it then. My brother, though, leaves his phone silent, no vibrate, and doesn't wear a watch. So, like, if he's not looking at his phone when you call him, you got to leave a voicemail.
Respect for your brother. That's the way to go. If I didn't wear a watch, I would also go with that. See, like, there are, like, emergency bypass exists for a reason, right? Something horrible happens, you can enable that. You can have emergency bypass, and if, like, mom needs to call you and she calls you, like, 3 times in a row, it's going to ring, it's going to vibrate, whatever. Like, we have enough disturbances in our lives. We don't need our phones.
Wait, does emergency bypass ring loud?
Yeah, it does, I think.
I thought it was just to break through Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, Sylvia has it, I think. I don't, by the way. But
so if there's an emergency, call her.
No, I mean, look, if something horrible happens at night, right? And I'm in another town and I'm in lockdown, I mean, also when I'm not in lockdown, but I'm like in
there it
another
is.
town, like what am I gonna do, right? Like if something horrible has happened, it has happened, right? It's nothing I can do about it.
Wow.
No, I mean, I'm gonna see the message when I wake up, and I'm gonna drive. Like I'm almost 2 hours away from my parents, right? So like, what am I supposed to do? And also, I live with my girlfriend, and I don't want to say that I don't care about anyone else, but like, I don't think there's anybody else that is gonna call me for an emergency. Like, I don't have any brothers, I don't have any sisters, I don't have any cousins or whatever. It's like literally just my mom, and I live with my girlfriend and my 2 dogs. And my girlfriend has emergency bypass, so her side of the family is taken care of. But like, what else am I supposed to do, right? So I'm just gonna wake up and see the message. Maybe I'm a horrible person. Maybe I just respect my sleep schedule, or try to, as much as possible.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
We're all learning a lot today.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this thing about the haptic touch notifications on the iPhone SE?
So yeah, 3D Touch is gone on this phone. It's totally dead. Apple just doesn't want us to think about that it ever happened, which is like a whole weird thing on its own, right? Like this major feature on the iPhone 6S, and it's gone 4 years later. It's like, it didn't pan out. This was an issue on the 10R, because the 10R had haptic touch. It was not there, so you couldn't haptic touch on notifications and deal with them. You had to do all this swiping around. And it's fixed now. The 11 Pro, I can haptic touch on notifications, do what I want to do. But it's not present on the SE. Matt Panzarino says that's working as intended and not a bug. And so there's that.
Like, if this is true, that it's like, this is how we want it to be, why? Why? How is that useful for anybody?
So this phone has haptic touch, right?
Yes.
Like this.
Yes.
Yeah, this looks like a bug. Like, why wouldn't it have haptic touch for notifications?
That's it. Seems like a bug, right? But it
does.
seems like Matthew Panzarino has spoken to somebody at Apple who's told him it's not.
Yeah, but why?
Exactly.
Like, I believe that they have spoken, but they're still wrong about it. Like, you can have a conversation and be wrong about something. This is like, why wouldn't it support haptic for expanding notification?
All it does is it like brings up just expands the notification, but doesn't show you the information, right? So you just see the full text of the notification, but that's not what you want, right? So like, if I got a message from you, I would just see the snippet that it shows in preview.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It may not be a bug, but it's a buggy opinion for sure to have that this shouldn't support. It's just wrong. Well, why wouldn't it? There's a haptic engine inside the phone. The OS is the same, and yes, interactions are different because one phone has a home button and the others don't. Still, though, the UI element notifications are exactly the same.
Yep, especially because when you swipe to the side and you press the view button, you get the full preview. So it's not like it's a screen size problem even.
It is literally the same interface and design.
Yep.
One phone has a home button and the other doesn't, but that doesn't change. It doesn't change how you deal with notifications. And the phone is capable of playing haptic feedback. So this is wrong and it should be fixed. There's
Agreed.
nothing else to say about this.
Yeah, like, if this was a choice that Apple made, they made the wrong choice.
Yes.
Like, there is no benefit.
I understand you may have made this decision and you were wrong about it.
Yeah, it's okay. We
It's
can all
okay.
be wrong, but just fix it.
There's no big philosophical reason why this should be this way on the SE.
Mm-hmm.
So I could, like, if you told me, well, the SE doesn't have haptic feedback, and then of course you wouldn't support it, because you can make the argument that, and by the way, we are sure that the SE plays haptics, right?
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay, so like, I would have understood if like the argument was, well, it's weird to long press if the phone doesn't play haptic feedback for you. That I could have maybe sort of accepted, but with the current specs, like if it's got a haptic engine inside, it should absolutely support expanding notifications with haptic touch.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. And it's a shame because the rest of this phone is really solid. She's really happy with the camera. She loves that it's the same size and Touch ID. And it's a great value. And it's like, why did y'all mess this up? Like, and she hasn't noticed it yet coming from an 8. And I don't know if she just uses notifications that way or not, but I would bet money that Apple turns this on at some point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think they've got to.
For sure. Yeah, they have to. Like, there's literally no reason why it shouldn't be supported. Like, you look at this without having the context of Panzerino and the tweets and the conversation, and you just go like, yeah, this is a bug. Like, it's so obvious.
As Koshakji has pointed out in the chat, like, you can long press on the iPad and get this, and that has no haptics.
Also, very good point. So there you go. It's a
very solid point. There's no reasoning. There is no reasoning. They just, for whatever reason, it's not there, but there's no good reason for it.
Maybe the context of the conversation was it's not a bug, and what was omitted from that tweet was somebody forgot to implement it. Maybe that was the other part of the sentence.
Yeah. Or like working as intended, comma, but we did it wrong. Like, we intended to ship it this way, but didn't think about this feature.
Yeah. So it'll be added at some point, I'm sure.
I wonder if it's in the 13.5 beta. I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Don't put a beta on your
No, that's not what I meant. I meant that someone in the world will find out. Not
okay.
No.
So somebody, but not you.
No, usually I'm trying to think what it was. It was maybe iOS 11 or 10. Several years ago, I put iOS basically on my wife's phone like day one, not the beta when it's the public release, and it was really, really bad. And so now I usually wait like a week for her. It's like, okay, we're going to upgrade your watch and your phone and everything all at once, after a little while. She's the opposite of me. I'm going to sell the beta, in August. She doesn't need to deal with that.
No.
All right, let's take our final break and talk about our sponsor, Storyworth. It is the easiest way to share your family stories. Can I just be honest? Finding the perfect Mother's Day gift is tricky, especially if you can't celebrate together in person, the boat that most of us are in. Mother's Day for us, we cook out, we hang out, we have this big thing, and we're going to miss that this year. But there are still fun and meaningful ways to engage with family members, and Storyworth is a great example. It's an online service that helps your loved ones share the most interesting stories about their lives. So this is how it works. Every week, Storyworth emails your family member different story prompts with these great questions that you would never think of yourself, like, what have been some of your life's greatest surprises? What are some of the riskiest things you've ever done? It is fantastic, and I'll promise you can learn a whole lot about your family members through this. These sometimes conversations are kind of weird to have in person, but if they're just writing them down, it's great. And I've enjoyed doing this in the past with family members. After a year, Storyworth will compile every answered question plus a photo to include in a beautiful keepsake book that's shipped for free. So get your mom a meaningful gift this year with Storyworth. Give your mom a meaningful gift this year with Storyworth. Get started right away without the need for shipping by going to storyworth.com/connected, where you'll get $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/connected for $10 off. Our thanks to Storyworth for their support of the show and all of Relay FM. So WWDC is coming at some point.
Yeah, I was looking at my calendar today and realized that we're kind of in the...
Which calendar app do you use, Mike?
Fantastical. I like it. Yes, I subscribe to it. Yes, I'm happy to do so. I use that app like 20 times a day.
I just love putting you on the spot like that. I can't help myself.
I don't feel like I'm on the spot. What task manager are you using, Big Task Boy? You changed again this week, or are you...
Don't put me on the spot. That's so rude of you.
I put people on the spot. I don't get put on the spot.
Are you using Remember the Milk?
Yes. I'm back to RTM, as we all say, amongst
in the community.
Fellow other RTM users will
other
know what I'm talking about. Well done.
We're gonna get a shout out for the Milksters in the chat.
Any Milksters in the chat?
So I was looking at my calendar today and realized that we're in the splash zone for WWDC. We're somewhere between 4 to 8 weeks away. which is really the window that we're in right now, which is kind of hilarious. But I don't know about you boys, but I'm realizing quickly that this is going to be unprecedented. We have no idea what to expect, right? Like, WWDC has never happened like this before. We don't know what Apple is going to have for us at that time. We don't know how big the news is going to be. We don't know if they're going to maybe kind of just brush this year off a little bit. Like, the scope for this year is massive because it's there's so many things that we would expect to be a given that aren't, right? Like, we don't have any detail. So I was wondering if or what you two are doing to prepare for this. I would expect Federico is the one that probably has to think about this the most of the three of us, because assuming you are going to be reviewing whatever version of iOS ships this year. This is a sub-question. Do you have a baseline for what you would review?
Oh, what do you mean a baseline?
Like, how much of an iOS update does it have to be? Like, what if they didn't do a lot? Like, if they were like, we're going to chill this year.
Oh, well, I'm going to chill too. And my review is going to be chill.
But like, imagine if there was an iOS 14, right, but it really didn't have a lot in it. Like, do you have like an internal baseline for what you think that you would at least look at it and be like, that's not enough to write a review about? Or would you always do it regardless?
I will always do it regardless, because
right.
it needs to happen. So that I will do no matter what. If it's like literally just a bunch of updates, then I will do an article that says, look, this is just a bunch of fixes, and it's like 500 words. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they can afford to do that. So I think I'm still going to be in a pretty good spot in terms of like, there are going to be some features I can write about. There are going to be some changes that I can cover. But if that ever happens, like if it's like a Snow Leopard release with like 500 bug fixes, I will try my best to cover at least 200 of them. And because the other 300 are likely going to be boring. So I'm thinking about this a lot, of course, to answer your first question. I'm thinking about this a lot in terms of like, what's it going to be like? What can I do? How can I prepare? And basically what I'm thinking at the moment is that looking back at last year, I think readers really appreciated the fact that for the first time, we had a series of articles on Mac Stories in the summer covering certain features of iOS 13 that I was not going to cover in my review. So things like family sharing, I believe, and Apple Maps, changes in ARKit, I believe, accessibility. And in thinking about what am I going to do this year, considering how the review went in September, we are going to continue this approach, and we are actually going to expand this kind of coverage in the summer. So to have standalone stories and guides if necessary, but like to break out some features from the main review in a way that we have content coming to the site in the summer, especially in the months of July and August when it tends to be a little quieter, and also to help me make sure that I don't have to cover every single feature in my review, especially those features that tend to be, for example, exclusive to the United States at first, or that maybe I'm just not that excited about. So that we're going to continue. The second thought that I have at the moment is, because we don't have any frame of reference in terms of what is this event going to be like, in terms of like the actual experience of WWDC from home, as somebody who goes to the conference every year, I know that it's going to be super different. But also, I don't think Apple wants to make it like a small thing, like a more. I think Apple wants to make it an event. I think Apple wants to give it a sense of participation and audience involvement. I think they want it to be a big deal, even if it's going to be different from usual. And so the thought that I have is we are also going to make it a big deal and trying to make it an event for the full week, assuming it's going to be a full week, I believe so. But we're also going to make it an event as much as possible. So try to not be sad about the fact that there's no real WWDC, but still going to cover, maybe the sessions, in addition to the keynote, in addition to the State of the Union. Try and make it, an actual thing that people can follow over the course of the week. I'm also considering how I can do a better job at acknowledging the fact that despite my best intentions, people are going to install the beta, right, in the summer. And for many years, I've held back on sharing opinions and thoughts and maybe even shortcuts, for example, in the summer, saving them for September to have this big splash, right, with my review. And I'm still going to do that because, so much of our of the fall season at Mac Stories revolves around this big review. But also, I think I should be more proactive in sharing some thoughts and shortcuts and just things about the new OS release in the summer. I don't want to just disappear. And I think I've done a better job at this, honestly, in the past, especially in the past couple of years. But I want to do more. Like, it's fine if I share an article in August instead of waiting for September, because I'm still going to have content in September. That's not going to be an issue. And especially with shortcuts, like I see all these people sharing shortcuts in advance, and I'm like, no, I'm not supposed to share these shortcuts in July because I got to wait for September. And I don't want to do that anymore because I know that my members and my readers are going to install the beta anyway. And so I'm like, why am I imposing this deadline on myself, or like this obligation not to share beta stuff because I need to wait for September? Whatever. Members and readers are using the beta, and I should just acknowledge that and give them, some beta content in the summer because it's fine.
So you're expecting to share to like open the door a little bit more than you normally would.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do, honestly. Because
is that you or Mac Stories?
Both.
Or both?
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to make sure that, especially now that we have public betas, right? So many more people install the beta on their primary devices than before, especially when it's like late July and August, where I'm not saying that the beta is finished, but it's in a relatively more advanced stage compared to like the first week of June. Lastly, I want to see, and this is more like speaking strictly about the review and my process, I want to see if I can do a better job at organizing my research material for the review. So the writing part, I'm pretty much set in IA Writer. I really love that text editor, and I know that Ulysses is coming out soon with some pretty big changes for organizing your research material inside Ulysses. But I really depend on IA Writer because of the custom template feature that they have. So I can preview my stories in IA Writer exactly as they will look on the site. So the custom preview stuff that they do, that is really vital to the way that I want to see how my stories turn out, visually speaking. But I am dissatisfied at the moment with the setup that I have for organizing research material, and I need to blame Mr. Stephen Hackett for making me second guess my setup. Because in tomorrow's installment of the Club Mac Stories monthly log newsletter, Stephen will share as a post about DevonThink and as a screenshot of his DevonThink setup. And looking at that screenshot has made me really jealous of Stephen in a good way. I don't have any negative feelings for you, Stephen, but just jealous on a geeky level, if you know what I mean. Like, that looks super hot, honestly.
Jealousy doesn't have to be negativity. I think if you're jealous of something for someone, that can actually be a positive thing.
Yeah, there
for
needs
them.
to be a better word of it.
Yeah,
know?
Not envy. No, there is no good word.
There's no good word, like jealous in a good way. I don't know. But like, I look at that sidebar that Stephen has in DevonThink, and I'm like, yeah, that is super nice. And like, over the past couple of years, research material, what do I mean? I have a couple of PDF documents that I need to study every year for iOS and iPadOS. And of course, there's a whole documentation website on the Apple developer portal. So API stuff, framework stuff. And I have a lot of questions at the moment, basically. do I want to also save those web pages as PDF documents, or do I want to save them as web archives? And I'm currently looking at a bunch of apps, right? Raindrop, which is the app that I regularly use for my personal bookmarks. So like Pokemon stuff, Nintendo stuff, music that I want to buy online, or restaurants I want to go to, like actual bookmarks. Also has support for archiving web pages offline, and also lets me upload PDF documents, but it does not let me annotate those documents in any way. DevonThink, of course, is an option. DevonThink 3 is the latest version on the Mac, but the iOS version and the iPadOS version is a little bit behind compared to the Mac app. I know that the DevonThink developers have said that the iOS client is a priority in 2020.
Yeah.
So, and I know that I'm on the test flight for DevonThink, and I have noticed that lately they have increased like the just like the features and the fixes that they're bringing to the iOS and iPadOS version. So maybe DevonThink could be an option. I still love Apple Notes also, like just for taking notes and like organizing like text-based notes, but it doesn't necessarily behave that well for web archives or PDF documents. Those are basically attachments, and you cannot search them. There's Keep It, which is another sort of DevonThink-like application. Keep It is actually has feature parity between the Mac and an iPadOS version and an iPhone version. But every time I test Keep It, I always run into some kind of weird sync issue or like visual glitch or like some other technical problem that every time I look at the app and I'm like, I really want to use it, but the experience is not that polished for me.
Yep, same.
And finally, there's this new app called Highlights, which we reviewed on Mac Stories a couple of weeks ago. It's a PDF research tool that looks really good and is designed for like academics and students, people who really need to take a lot of notes and annotate PDF documents specifically. And Highlights is interesting because it has a integration with a bunch of third-party apps like Bear and Apple Notes and DevonThink, and I believe also OmniFocus, to let you export those highlights to external apps. So basically, I'm asking myself a lot of questions at the moment because the writing part is set, and I love my current setup in IA Writer. Storing screenshots, I'm also set. I use iCloud Drive. I have a whole setup with scriptable and shortcuts, and that works beautifully. But storing research material, I really don't know what to do at the moment. And I guess my main question is, should I go back to DevonThink? Even though the iOS and iPadOS version is very much behind the Mac version. But given what the DevonThink developers have said, and given what I'm seeing in the test flight, is this maybe a good investment for the future based on where things are going? But that leads me to a second question of, if I use DevonThink, am I going to use it strictly for work stuff? And am I still going to be using Raindrop for personal bookmarks? Like, I don't want to be in a situation where in DevonThink, I have both my Pokemon links and, a detailed explanation of the latest APIs in iOS 14.
Right.
Like, I want to make them separate. So I think, and maybe Steven, you can talk me out of this or you can talk me into this, I'm leaning toward using Raindrop for personal bookmarks and just random stuff from the web, and embracing DevonThink for an archive of research material for each version of iOS, and actually rebuilding my entire database of, I believe I have documentation stuff laying around since going back to the days of iOS 9. So maybe I should do that. I don't know.
I think you should do it, and I think you really should have strong boundaries around what goes into DevonThink. So mine is computer history stuff, right? And anything that's not that goes in Apple Notes or somewhere else. And I mean, the beauty of it is that you can search across all of it really quickly. So say that iOS 14 changes some API and you wanted to look over like, well, where's that been over the last few years? You could quickly pull that together, and the search is why I'm there, because it is so good. And because it's an island, right? It's just my computer history stuff. This is not in Finder. It's not in Dropbox. It is in DevonThink. And I really like that I have this research tool when I need it, and when I don't need it, I can just, close the app and it's not in my face all the time. So I've been really happy with that separation, and I think you would be too. I think you should look into this.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to be using this. So most likely we're looking at a combination of the following apps: IA Writer for just writing the review, Apple Notes for taking text notes, and DevonThink to store PDF documents and web archives. Most likely PDF documents, because then I can annotate them and highlight stuff. I don't think you can highlight anything on a web archive. And also MindNode for my mind map, because I'm not using iThoughts anymore. I'm using MindNode, which also works nicely with external displays and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'm gonna be spending like a weekend recollecting all the documentation that I have for older versions of iOS and throwing everything together in DevonThink. Because like the search in DevonThink, as you mentioned, is really good, and you can do some crazy things with the search operators. Like I remember they have this advanced search operator called the near operator, and that basically allows you to like search for a word that is near another word, and you can actually tweak the number of words that should be in the proximity of each other. So like I want to search for like the word Hackett, but it needs to be within one word of the word, I don't know, Mac or Stephen, for example. So like that allows you to really nail down something that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just wish the iOS version was better.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. For me, this makes me wish that I had a team of people, so I could I wish I had a John and a Ryan and be like, go write these things, but I don't. For me, I'm gonna really look, Federico, what you're looking at doing of trickling stuff out over the summer and fall. I did some of that. I wrote about dark mode in advance before that was a thing a couple years ago, and I think I don't know if I did anything in Catalina or not in advance, but I want to find smaller topics that I can write about and then just refer to in my Mac OS review, which I do plan on doing again this year. For me, though, it's all about the time that I get for it, and so it'll be more in line with what I've done in the past. I don't think I'm really looking to expand the format of my review. I am really hoping that it is a small year for macOS. Like I'm on the train that they shouldn't have a release every year anyways. And until that comes true, I think it'll be pretty small. I think the possible wrench in the works for me is if we see an official plan from Apple about the transition to ARM. If that begins this summer, that really could change what I do, or there's a lot of unknowns around that. Right? Like, what if there's like developer hardware? Well, I have a developer account. I would try to get my hands on that hardware, but that comes with a different NDA than just like what they talk about in the session. So that is really sort of the thing I'm looking out for that could really complicate the rest of my summer and fall of, is ARM happening? But short of that, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with macOS and kind of getting into it piece by piece as the year unfolds.
Mike, what are you planning for your tvOS review?
Oh, I'm gonna get some review TV hardware and just 3 TVs going at once. One in dark mode, one in light mode, so I can make sure I get all my screenshots and stuff. And then there'll be one which is like my personal TV, because you don't want to mess all that up, right? You don't want to get your TV all messed up. So yeah, really thinking about do I want to transition away from a stack of paper notebooks this year to Apple Notes for all my research, and thinking about setting up a Plex server to download all the tvOS sessions so I can watch them on the TV in picture-in-picture mode, probably.
You should ask Casey about it.
I'm
tips.
gonna,
tips.
yeah. So really look at, like this year, it's probably, of all the platforms, I expect tvOS to get like real solid attention in the priority list for this year. So really looking forward to the tvOS review. Can't wait to do it.
Very nice. Me too.
No, I'm not doing anything. I am wondering, like, what, like, for me, it's just like planning out podcast related stuff over that period of time and what I'm likely to cover, because I will have more time during whatever WWDC is than I normally do. And I'm not sure if I'm going to want to consume session related content and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I will have the opportunity to do things differently than normal, and I'm just still wondering myself, like, what is that going to look like? Like, I'm just intrigued, really, and it's one of those things where, like everyone who is in the media, and then also like everyone who cares about following the news, I just really hope that Apple give us a little bit of an idea to what they want to do in advance of it happening. Like that there will be an email or an update to the WWDC webpage like a week or two at least before it begins, stating not only when they plan to do things, but what they're actually doing, right? Like, will there be sessions? Like, will there be labs? Like, will there be keynotes? What's it all going to look like? I just hope that they share some of that stuff in advance, right? So people can plan, because it's not just the media here that need to plan, right? Like, developers who have jobs that do not have the luxury now of traveling. Like, they will be expected to be working, right? Like, I can imagine if you're able to get your company to pay to fly you out, they're expecting you go to the conference. I bet it is way harder to convince people to give you the time right now. Like, just give me a week. Like, no, you work for a week, right? Like, I can imagine it's a little bit trickier. I wonder how that's kind of going down with companies. But yeah, I am keen to see how it's all going to pan out, and I hope that we get a little bit of advance notice.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Also, yeah, I really hope that, despite the fact there's not going to be an event, like, they still should do, like, I don't know, some kind of keynote, like invitations for the press somehow. Not in the physical sense. Like, I don't expect them to
they will do
invite.
it. They'll be like, the keynote's going to be at all right. They'll send that out to the press for sure.
But it's all remote, right? And maybe if you...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like, see you online.
Yeah, something like that.
Apple Zoom.
Who's our Zoom? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a brave new world, and we'll just see how it goes. But I think it'll be interesting to see how they, not only like what they do, but how well it goes, right? Will the feeling in the developer community be that, wow, this was great, we don't need in-person stuff? Or is the feeling going to be, wow, this wasn't as good as it is in person? I feel like there will be an overall feeling in the community about it. I just don't know what that's going to be.
Time will tell.
I think that does it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to find links to stuff we spoke about, head on over to our website, relay.fm/connected/292. While you're there, you can send us an email with feedback or follow-up. You can become a member and support Connected directly, which we would appreciate. Of course, you can find us all on Twitter. You can find Mike there as IMYKE. Mike is the host of a whole bunch of shows, including Backstage, if you're a Relay FM member. You can find Federico online as Viticci, Viticci. He's the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. Federico, we didn't get to say anything, but you guys have something new coming on Friday.
Yeah, we announced today a new Mac Stories podcast. It's called Mac Stories Unwind. And it's basically going to be every Friday, 20 minutes or so, a recap of the week. So everything that we've done at Mac Stories, App Stories, and Club Mac Stories. So like a guide to everything that we've done. And in the second half of the show, it's right there in the title, media recommendations to unwind and relax over the weekend. So we thought that, this would be a good time for all of us to maybe find distractions and find, maybe a great new TV show or a great new video game or book or article from the web or whatever. Anything is fine. Just something to pass the time and relax and unwind over the weekend.
Will you be drinking wine during that show? I feel like you should be.
Maybe, but I don't want to be like one of those shows where they begin and every time they're like, "I'm Federico and I'm drinking this." It's like,
no, you don't need to do that. But like, I feel like it's required. The show is called Unwind, right?
yeah,
Like either that or you need to wear a robe.
it's very
Or be in the bath.
Or be in the bath.
Things I may be already doing and you just don't know about it.
No, because whenever you do have wine, you can't help but tell us that you have
That's also very true. That's
Right?
also very true.
Boys, I'm drinking wine. That's usually how the call begins when Federico has wine.
You do know me. You do know me.
So yeah, I just think you gotta, or at least, you know what? I'm very intrigued about the music for this show. I haven't listened to the trailer yet. Does the trailer have the music?
It does, but it's
Okay.
it's actually a very simple sound effect. It's kind of newsy. If it
Now you
makes sense.
see, I want something that like
Relaxing.
eases me into the vibe. Like some
Something like-
saxophone music or something.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to put you too much in the vibe, otherwise you're gonna stop listening and do something else.
Yeah.
No, I'll be more likely to listen because if I'm unwinding, what else am I doing?
I don't.
No, see, I've listened to it. That's not unwindy enough for me, Federico. I need something that's like bringing me down.
Okay, look, we are going to look into commissioning some unwindy music for the second segment of the show. So when it's
Perfect.
time to unwind, we're gonna play.
Right, because if we
gonna-
got business at the
Right.
front, unwinding at the back.
Right, it's like it's like the mullet of podcasts, basically.
Well, kind of. Mullets are not really known for unwinding, but, we can go with that.
We will look into proper music for unwinding in the second half of the show.
Excellent. Thank you.
You can find me on Twitter as ISMH. And you can find me at 512pixels.net. 512pixels on YouTube. I should say, while we're teasing things, the chat room has suggested I do a video identifying dongles by touch with blindfolded.
Yeah.
Let's just say that's coming next week. So
Nice.
keep an eye out for that. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week. They are Storyworth, Pingdom, and Sanebox. And until next time, gentlemen, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Adios.